The Nintendo Switch has been out for 2 full years now, but what has changed since the launch of the Switch? And what is it like buying a Switch right now in 2019? Hello everyone, my name is Adam and welcome to Time Lag Gaming. Later on in this video, we will be hearing from Stormcat about his experience of buying a Switch in 2019, 2 years after its initial release. So make sure to stick around to the end. The Switch launched on March 3rd, 2017, a little over 4 years after the launch of this one system called the Wii U. It cost $300 at launch, with no game included, and 2 years later, it's still being sold at full price. The system has now seen many different game bundles for over $300. And starting around November of 2018, we got a bundle that included Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for free. From then until today, there have been Switch bundles being sold with $35 to $50 gift cards or eShop cards at no additional cost. So buying a Nintendo Switch today in 2019 will still cost you full price, but sometimes you can get them with a gift card. This is definitely an improvement from the launch, as the Switch was actually super hard to find for the first several months because of low supply levels. Another aspect regarding price is the difference in game prices. A lot of first-party games now go on sale for $10 off pretty often. Not only that, but there are now tons of pre-owned and used games that you can get for $15 to $20 cheaper. All of us early adopters usually paid full price, but people getting a Switch now don't have to pay as much to play all of the amazing games. Speaking of games, let's compare the games at launch versus the games available today. When the Switch launched, it had basically no games, and it took about the entire first year to get a good variety of games on the system. On launch day, there were 5 games available physically, and another 4 games on the eShop. In addition, all throughout 2017, there were barely any physical releases. There were, of course, first-party releases, but most of the indie and third-party games were digital only. And the non-first-party games that did release physically were more expensive than their digital counterparts, and even more expensive than the same game on other systems. On top of this, most of these games were delayed and came out after other systems. These things continued throughout 2017 and even 2018. Now fast forward to 2019, and there are a ton of first-party, third-party, and indie games getting physical releases in store. There are also many publishers that are releasing smaller indie games in physical form, like Limited Run and super rare games. The launch of the Switch was a little slow with only 9 games, but Breath of the Wild was all us early adopters really needed. Fast RMX was a great F-Zero style racing game that was available day one to fill that racing void. And we had Shovel Knight to fill that platforming void. Then later on in the first year, we did have exciting games like Splatoon 2, Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart 8, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, ARMS, and more. So yes, the launch of the Switch was pretty bare, but I would say it was a solid year with heavy hitters like Zelda, Mario, and Splatoon, along with ports to fill in the gaps. In year 2, we got a lot more indie and third-party games, but it was a little slower in terms of first-party support. We got titles like Kirby Star Allies, Mario Tennis Aces, Nintendo Labo, Super Mario Party, but then it got a lot better at the end of the year with Pokemon Let's Go and Smash Ultimate. But now it's 2019, the Switch is 2 years old, and somebody buying a Switch today has 2 full years of games to get through. There are currently 2,000 games available for the Switch. Not only this, but the rest of 2019 is looking to be huge. I mean, just look at it. We have Yoshi's Crafted World in March, Mortal Kombat 11 and Darksiders in April, Assassin's Creed 3 and Resident Evil in May, Mario Maker 2 in June, Fire Emblem in July, and Astral Chain in August. Then we have Animal Crossing likely in September, Luigi's Mansion 3 likely in October, Pokemon Sword and Shield likely in November, and then another Zelda game by December. That isn't even everything, and the year is already packed. Plus, it's only March. There are going to be plenty more games announced throughout the year. Now we come to system features and apps that were available at launch versus today. At launch, there was no Nintendo Online service. So online was free, but we also did not have the Nintendo Online app with NES games. This means we also didn't have cloud backups. So people who had their Switch stolen, broken, or lost most likely lost all of their save data. There was also no apps at all on the Switch for the longest time. Literally only games. Now we have Hulu, the YouTube app, Is.Neo, Inky Pen, and the coloring book. Still, that's not a ton of apps, but it's better than nothing. Another feature we didn't have is game sharing. In a recent update, they added the ability to play your friends' games on your Switch if you sign into their account. If we had this feature earlier, it could have saved people from buying a game they ended up not liking, or it could have let people play their friends' games so they didn't have to buy them all themselves. Another feature that was not available at launch was redeeming gold points for eShop credit. In addition, before this change occurred, you got hardly any gold points for your purchases. So people who are buying a Switch now, they will get more gold points for eShop purchases than we did on day one. They also will be able to use all their points on purchases instead of letting them go to waste. The last main feature we didn't have at launch was big system updates. One of the biggest system updates was Update 3.0. This added features like a better news app, more notifications, finding controllers, quick settings for volume, inverted colors, grayscale colors, allowing USB keyboards and headsets, allowing Pro controllers to be used over USB, and being able to update controller firmwares. Obviously, these aren't huge features, but they are features nonetheless, and they make the overall experience better. 2 years later, we are now on update 7.0.1, so there have been many stabilization and feature updates that have accumulated to a better overall experience in 2019. For somebody buying a Switch now, it's a very different experience than what it was for us who bought it on day one or throughout 2017 and the beginning of 2018. This brings me to Stormcat. Stormcat is a fellow YouTuber who's about to reach 3,000 subs. He posts high quality, edited videos every day that are centered around the game Terraria. However, now that he has a Nintendo Switch, he's going to be doing some videos on the Switch as well. While planning this video, he asked me about doing a collab and told me how he had just ordered a Switch. So I thought it would be perfect to get him to share his experience on what it's like to buy a Switch in 2019.
Thank you, Adam, for that wonderful introduction to the 2 years after owning the Switch video. For me, it has been quite a ride, and I've only had it for about 2 weeks now. I just picked this Switch up just a little over a week ago, and I'm telling you, it's not changed very much. The Switch is still a fantastic system 2 years later. It is 100% worth it to pick it up now, even if they are coming out with a new console in the future. A lot of people say that owning the Switch 2 years later is a lot better because there are so many more games and so many more options to explore. I actually highly disagree with that statement. Since I've had this, the only game I have bought is Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's a fantastic game. It has so much to explore and so much content. Also has 2 different DLC packs, and I haven't found myself picking up any other game since. One good benefit of buying the Switch 2 years later is that we know a lot more information about the Switch. Before, people were confused if third-party docks were usable, if third-party chargers were usable. We have come to find out that because of the protocols that Nintendo has used in the Switch, that third-party docks and chargers can be very damaging, and that is very useful going into being an owner of the Switch. Another thing that usually would be used on consoles are the skins. Those, because of the texture and material used for the Joy-Cons, cannot be used safely. Being an owner of the Switch day one, you would have not had the knowledge and you could have potentially damaged your Switch. Another great thing about owning the Switch 2 years later is that we have a wide variety of accessories usable. We have things like handheld grips, really durable cases, awesome screen protectors, stands that are built to help charge the Switch while playing, and third-party accessories. At the launch of the Switch, these were not available, and thanks to companies knowing that this was going to be a great success, looking into the Switch and developing different accessories for it, we now have these available. If I would have went into buying the Switch day one, I wouldn't have the great accessories that I do now. Overall, the Switch hasn't changed much 2 years later. We have a wide variety of games. We have a few more DLCs to add to some of our games. One downfall of owning the Switch 2 years later is that I don't have much knowledge on the Switch, and I did not get the experience that the day one owners got. Getting a Switch day one and Zelda Breath of the Wild as well is an awesome feeling. They're already hours and hours into the game, and I'm late to the party, but Zelda Breath of the Wild is fun nevertheless. If you haven't picked yourself up one of these yet, definitely go for it. Even if they plan to launch a new console soon, it is highly worth it to pick yourself up a Switch. Thank you so much, Time Lag, for having me on your channel. Back to Adam for the rest of the video.
Now that you've heard Stormcat's experience of buying a Switch in 2019, let's briefly go over some of my experiences of being a day one owner. One good experience of getting a Switch day one was all the hype. There's nothing quite like lining up outside the store before it opens to be one of the first people to get a system. Another great thing was being able to play online games for free for over a year. There are many other great experiences I've had because of purchasing day one, like being able to experience all the games right away, having time to actually play all the games, and not having an overcrowded eShop with shovelware. But I can't help notice all the downsides we had getting the Switch day one compared to how it is getting one today. First of all, there were no games on sale at first. It took a long time before we had sales on the eShop. Another issue is there wasn't new games coming out all the time. I remember during the first year of the Switch's release, I literally checked Nintendo's website every day to see if new games were added to the upcoming releases. There just wasn't games coming out as often as they are now. Part of this had to do with a ton of indie games that got delayed. Nintendo had several Nindie Directs where they announced a bunch of new indie games, but probably half of these indies at every Direct ended up getting delayed. The last of the main issues at launch was there was a ton of physical hardware defects. Now these do occur more often during the launch of a system and usually get fixed later on. I personally experienced a screen tearing issue where there was a line in the middle of the screen. I also had the issues with the left Joy-Con disconnecting and having communication problems with the Switch. And I actually still have a few Joy-Con that have this problem. So those are some of my experiences that shed light on what it was like to own a Switch day one. From the differences between cost, amount of games, features, as well as our personal experiences, you can see that in some ways it was better to own a Switch day one, but in other ways it was better to wait 2 years. And like Stormcat brought up, there are also some similarities of buying one now versus today, because all he is playing right now is Breath of the Wild, which is what we were playing on day one. But one big difference is when Stormcat is done playing Breath of the Wild, he has 2 years of games to choose from of what to play next. 2,000 games he has waiting for him. For us day one owners, after we beat Breath of the Wild, there were only a handful of games to choose from. So what's the point? Well, the point is, now is the perfect time to buy a Nintendo Switch. Yeah, sure, there are rumors of a mini or revised Switch coming, but those are just rumors, and either way, you won't regret it. Like Stormcat said, it's completely worth it to get one now. You have a library of 2,000 games with a ton of masterpieces to play through. And while you play through those, you'll have a ton of brand new games to look forward to throughout 2019. The year is packed with games like Pokemon, Animal Crossing, Luigi's Mansion, Zelda, Yoshi, Mario Maker, and Fire Emblem. And of course, a bunch of new great indie games and a ton of third-party games like Resident Evil, Final Fantasy, Darksiders, Mortal Kombat, Dragon Quest, Crash Team Racing, Assassin's Creed, Hellblade, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and so many more games that are yet to be announced. What else do you need to convince you to get a Switch? If you don't already have a Nintendo Switch, go get one now. Do you already own a Switch? Well then share this video with your stubborn friend that loves gaming but hasn't got one yet. Anyways, I hope you found this video informative and maybe even helpful. Thank you so much to Stormcat for helping me out with this video. Make sure to check out his channel. We will also be doing a collab over there. Now before you click off this video, be sure to share your thoughts on the Switch's past 2 years. Do you regret getting a Nintendo Switch day one? Do you regret not picking one up sooner? Let me know your take in the comments down below. Thanks again for watching.